Hi, everyone. My name's Amy Wu. I'm an investment partner at Lightspeed Venture Partners, and very excited to be with you guys at GI Live today. I'm here to talk to you guys about Lightspeed's perspectives and on gaming, why we're so excited. And for those of you who are currently considering or in the middle of fundraising, to offer a few thoughts. Who is Lightspeed? So we are a venture capital firm who have been around for over 25 years. We are a multi-geography, multi-stage, and multi-sector tech venture capital firm with about $11 billion of committed capital. In the US, we have most of us are based in the Bay Area, including myself, and we have global offices in China, India, Southeast Asia, Europe, and also Israel. And we have a long history of investing in enterprise, consumer, and healthcare companies. Amongst consumer companies are investments in Snapchat, Epic Games, Calm, and a number of other great companies. Why do we love gaming? So I think, the reasons are pretty obvious to everybody here in the audience. And so I'm going to go through, how VCs think about this landscape and why you see so much increased funding today. Last year, this market was about $175 billion. Unlike some of the other categories, such as crypto, it has been consistently growing year over year. And a couple of different ways to think about the gaming market. You can think about it as Asia Pacific makes up about 50% of the whole market. Western markets make up most of the rest. And another way to think about it is that China and the US alone actually are about 50% of the market. Mobile is the most popular platform today, about 50% of the market, and is also the fastest growing one. There are about 2.7 billion global players last year, and that is a rising figure. One of the leading drivers of why this number is growing is actually the continued adoption of smartphone devices globally. Gaming is now the #1 category in entertainment, and it's pretty remarkable to think about that it's larger than music and the video markets combined. And if we look at some of the top 50 gaming franchises, there have been very valuable brands and franchises that have been built over a long period of time. In fact, the top 50 have all grossed over $2 billion in lifetime sales, and it's led by Pokemon and Mario. If we look at companies that have IPO'd in the last few years, gaming IPOs have done very well as well, including companies like NetEase last year, Roblox this year, Bilibili, which is a streaming platform in China, Unity, Playtika, and Skills. All of these IPO'd at over $10 billion in enterprise value. Gaming platforms also have tremendous reach. If we look at the largest stores and platforms and their monthly active users, we have Steam with 120 million MAUs, followed by PlayStation, Xbox, Epic Games Store, and new entrant but very fast-growing Oculus Quest 2 in the market. Perhaps the most exciting is that there's actually still a lot of opportunity to grow. So if we think about it, compared to Facebook and TikTok, Facebook has 2.8 billion MAUs and TikTok has 1.1. So the growth ahead also makes investors and I think people in the industry incredibly excited. There is more funding in gaming than ever right now, which is great for studios. If we think about historically, publishers have always been around to provide funding, and there also have been long-time funds such as, Makers Fund, Galaxy, London Venture Partners, and others who've been investing in games for years. That ecosystem has only expanded, and you can see on this list a number of investors that span from early stage focus to late stage focus, and they've done an increasing number of deals in last year, and we're already off to a very fast pace this year. Some thoughts on fundraising if you guys are either thinking about or in the process of fundraising. So the first thing that I always tell companies is to really understand what you're looking for in a partner. And that seems pretty obvious, but I think in the gaming ecosystem, when you're looking at investors, like I mentioned, there are publishers, there are early stage funds, there are a life cycle platform, larger funds like Lightspeed and others. There's also private equity firms, and each of these partners will come with pros and cons, and depending on what you are looking for. Some of the things that you should think about is, do you want to work with a deep gaming focus fund, or a which some of the pros are they have some of the deepest networks in the industry. They've been doing this and they only invest in gaming companies and have been for years. Or are you looking for perhaps a platform fund like a Lightspeed or Sequoia Index and Andreessen, who have billions of dollars under management, will support companies through multiple stages of its life cycle, but are going to be a little bit more generalist. And whereas individual partners may have long time experience, overall the firm is a general VC, and so you're going to get benefits of a platform that will help you hire and find partners and recruit, etc. But you may not get as deep of the knowledge that you might get otherwise. I would also think about, if you're a later stage growth stage gaming company and you're looking for opportunities for M&A in the market, then perhaps a larger private equity firm with a lot of experience in M&A and a large balance sheet that can support your M&A efforts may be an interesting partner. And so the flip side of understanding what you're looking for is also understanding what different funds are looking for. There are funds focused on specific stages of investment and ideal check size. For Lightspeed, we have very broad range of check size. We can invest as little as $500,000 or $1 million, and our largest checks are in the hundreds of millions of dollars for late stage companies. And so, some funds are looking for more mature businesses, and others are looking and have high risk tolerance for pre-launch, 5 years plus in development type of studios. So just understanding what they're looking for, what geographies they invest in, etc. Once you have an understanding of both, it's always great to get a warm introduction into the fund and specifically into the partners that actually look at gaming, and either in early stage or if you're a growth stage company. It's important to get references on the funds and the partners. In venture, we always say that reputations are built with companies that don't do well, because companies that do well, everyone is always, has a great story to tell and relationships are fantastic, but it's actually when the road is very rocky or when a company fails that it's important to see how a partner and how that fund is going to work with the entrepreneur through those situations. So it's important to get references, because you will likely be in partner with these people for years. And lastly, I will say that maybe this comes across slightly self-serving, but it's always easier to raise money when you don't need it, and you should raise more than you think you need. Like I mentioned, we're in an unprecedented time in terms of amount of funding available for young and growth studios alike. And so, for the first time in years, there are opportunities outside of publishers to find funding, and many studios are choosing to do so because venture firms actually give a lot of flexibility around uses of funding and also for raising future funding. But the trade-off will be less help with distribution, and sometimes the deeper connections and know-how when it comes to making games. And we also tell companies to raise more than you think you need, because, for example, with pre-launch games, I think a lot of studios are hoping for Obviously, everyone hopes for that hit when you launch the game, but most of the times that doesn't happen. And so it's good to raise more to be able to perhaps iterate on the game at the beta, which may last longer, which is a period that may be longer than you anticipate. And I would say one more thing, which is that, what the situation you would like to not get yourself into is to have to raise an emergency round of funding in months before you launch the game. So what is Lightspeed looking for? These are a few categories that I would say we look for across every category we invest in. The first is strong vision. And we are excited to partner with entrepreneurs who had the vision to build generational category-defining businesses. We are, looking for entrepreneurs that want to build billion-dollar businesses, multi-billion, sort of large impact businesses, and have the risk tolerance to do so, and also the patience to do so. We're looking for management teams and founders with relevant experience or the ability to recruit teams around them with experience in whatever they're building. Third is unique insight. And what that means is, we're looking for teams that can really articulate what is the unique insight they have in either the game genre that they're launching into, or game mechanic, or go to market, perhaps like, post-launch services that they are executing, and we're looking for the articulation of a clear understanding and articulation of that. And lastly, I will mention demonstrated performance, and this doesn't necessarily need to be measured in DAOs or MAUs or revenue, but rather what has the team done with the time and capital that it has raised or have spent to date, and how does that benchmark against other teams? And I will say that, there are brilliant and successful businesses that are not a fit for Lightspeed. This is where it's important to understand what each fund is precisely looking for in a partner, and we're looking for fit as much as the company is looking for fit. So what do we have to offer companies, particularly gaming companies? So Lightspeed has been in the business of building companies alongside founders and their teams for over 20 years. We have decided to build a large fund vehicle to be able to support companies throughout their lifetime, not just in the early stages, but all the way through, sort of pre-IPO, post-IPO as well. And alongside that, we have built a platform of over 30 individuals that are dedicated to helping our portfolio companies hire executives and team members, help bring and connect companies with their partners, share learnings across the portfolio, across everything from finance to HR, to compensation, and across a number of different categories, and also offer a community of portfolio companies and founders across 400 companies across the world. And so speaking of global, we are one of the few funds who do have truly global expertise, and investors have been on the ground for many years in the US, China, India, Southeast Asia, Europe, and Israel, which is particularly relevant in gaming because a lot of gaming companies actually look to publish globally. We are extremely passionate about the gaming sector. We would love to do more investments in this space. We will be the first to say that we have less experience than many others in the industry, but we do have deep experience in social networks and consumer investing. And we're excited to bring some of that expertise over to the gaming sector. I also want to touch upon some of the themes that we are very excited about this year in gaming. And I think these will be very much not a surprise to anybody in the audience, but again, are hopefully a lens into how we are thinking about spaces to invest. The first is games as social networks, and I will also add the vice versa, social networks as gaming companies. And so, this has been a topic that, of the last several years, right? This transition from solo play to multiplayer entertainment and community experiences. What's interesting is that this transition has only accelerated since COVID. And now we see that, the average user on Roblox actually spends more time playing than actually the average Facebook user does on the leading social network. And so you have people like the CEO of Netflix saying that, his biggest competition is not Hulu, but it's platforms like Roblox. It's very much in the general awareness, and as more and more people become gamers and also look for social interactions within games, this has become only a larger and larger theme. There's also been a lot of discussion around what the path to the metaverse looks like in these rich future virtual worlds and their economies. And there are a number of leading companies that have been building this vision, and also emerging companies. I always love thinking about the fact that 27 million players attended the Travis Scott concert in the Fortnite game, which is just an incredible stat. Some of the opportunities that we see. Free-to-play monetization is still relatively early, I would say, in development, and more on this in the games as a service theme. But as we see games develop further as social networks, I expect that we have already moved from monetizing skins to in-game purchases, and I think we will be finding much deeper ways to monetize in a free-to-play service. I think an opportunity that a lot of that gaming studios have is actually hiring from social networks. Because some of the leading social networks in the world, like a Facebook, Instagram, ByteDance, TikTok, they deeply understand how to nurture and grow communities. And as games are shifting to a more social network type experience, and also sort of utilizing especially a games as a service framework, it's important to hire more people in that really understand how to operate. And I will say that social networks are absolutely trying to build gaming experience within their ecosystems, and are hiring, individuals and executives with deep gaming experience. And I believe this is an opportunity in the reverse as well. As more and more games become social, it's important to continue fighting toxicity. Female players, and I'll touch upon this later, are very important in a social ecosystem and are more sensitive to toxic environments. And to that point, in attracting female players, we think that there is opportunity for more casual AAA titles. For example, Animal Crossing, but with a deeper social interactive environment, but similarly more casual. Lastly, I think I mentioned the survival genre because, in the last few months, Valheim has been the biggest phenomenon in gaming, and it is deeply social, and I think this is testament to the rise of the survival genre, and of course other great titles like Rust. I think it's a great opportunity for indie developers because it requires relatively lower budgets to create great games in this genre, and so I'm excited to see more games in this genre. Touching on games as creators. Given the recent massive success of the Roblox IPO, it has led to a lot of interest in UGC platforms, and obviously highlight other very successful players in the space: Minecraft, Fortnite Creative Mode, and also Skills in the real money gaming category. Creators earned $250 million on Roblox last year, which is incredible, and is rapidly growing. We have met with over a dozen players in this ecosystem, and one of the most important topics that everyone is thinking through is how to solve the cold start issue. It is difficult to get a flywheel going to attract players who will attract great creators to create great games, to attract more players. And I would, say that I would bucket 3 approaches to how to build that. The first being a true and tested games first approach, with companies like Minecraft and Fortnite have proven to be very successful. Start with a great fun game, attract a lot of users, and then develop the UGC elements of it afterwards. There's also the platform first approach. And Roblox spent many years becoming the biggest player in this space with this approach, where you start off with a fantastic platform to create a creator tools, and then gradually you create great games, which will bring over more and more players. And I will also highlight that other platforms in this category include Core and Credo. Then there's a more diverse distribution first approach, which I would bucket players like a Play Canvas, Snapchat's open source gaming engine, which is allowing creators and developers to create HTML5 browser-based games, and also I think in the future expand on leveraging the Snapchat distribution and reach. Then there's a company like The Sandbox, which is using the crypto tokens in order to attract a lot of people to buy tokens, buy in-game currency, buy in-game land, and also drive a lot of interest in playing games on their platform. Other opportunities in this category, we believe, include Roblox is currently extremely popular among younger kids. They are aging up, but there is a lot of opportunity with older adult demographic players. And what is sort of the Roblox for that demographic? We also think that there is opportunity in vertical focused UGC type experiences, such as in education, and creating a ecosystem of learning type games that's really fun, both in the classroom and outside the classroom. Some of the questions that a lot of these leading companies are thinking through include how to lower friction of player onboarding, and also how to increase player retention, how to think about the spectrum of a more open versus closed ecosystem, and also economy within the platform. The spectrum of providing tools catering to more casual gaming or more hardcore gaming, and what those tools needs to be to make these types of games successful. And also I would say, what is the optimal creator ratio? Different companies have strong beliefs around this. Only 5% of Roblox players are creators, but they're vastly successful. And other UGC platforms have a much higher creator ratio. And so I think this is a question that remains to be seen. The next theme is around expanding the definition of gamer, which is a topic that's very exciting for us. And I would specifically like to call out bringing on more female gamers. Women make up about 46% of the total gamer population. It is a fast-growing segment, and over 50% of casual mobile gamers already. Importantly, we have seen in the social network world that female users are important in early stage social networks in driving a lot of social interactions and positive social interactions. And one of the reasons is around a reduction of toxicity of the content, and also women, when also are shown to have deeper and drive deeper engagement in interactions. And you can see that both Facebook and some of the other platforms like TikTok began with a higher percentage of female users. And so now that games are becoming more and more social, we think that this is really important to take notes. A couple of things I would just highlight in terms of appealing to more female gamers and some of the opportunities that may be out there. One is embedding more dating simulation and narrative into the game, which is something that we've been seeing success both in the mobile world with games like Lily's Garden, and also in some of the MMORPG and RPG games. and I also mentioned casual AAA. In the casual mobile gaming space, we think that there's a lot of opportunity around embedding much deeper social features. And a couple of the other opportunities I will mention in terms of expanding the definition of gamer and gaming beyond just female gamers include gamifying the workplace. And I think companies like Gather is very interesting in that space. And also, what might games look like for an even older demographic? Games as a service, as a theme. This is something that I am very excited about, and of course, it's very much a trending theme in the gaming industry. What is game as a service? It is a delivery model that actually borrows upon the enterprise software world that serves content while monetizing players over their lifetime rather than in an upfront purchase. What it can do when executed correctly is reduce the hits-driven launch risk and largely extend the player lifetime value. A few components that are really important in a successful games as a service delivery model are live ops and events, and monetization, deep understanding of monetization, how to convert players to pay in a non-intrusive way, and how to design the game economy. It's important to build really deep and advanced data and analytics team that can really track all the events of the players as they're going through their lifetime journey through the game. And important to develop a deep pipeline of content to engage players for long periods of time, up to years. This is pretty expensive to do, and so this is where it's really interesting what studios and publishers will do to leverage mods and UGC gaming in order to augment their content pipeline. And lastly, cross-platform launches, which are able to expand and tap into even wider bases of players for titles. I mentioned free-to-play because I believe it's an absolute paradigm shift that is now mature in mobile gaming, but still quite early in PC console. There are still limited expertise in how to run a successful free-to-play playbook, and I think some of the places where studios may think in terms of accessing this talent are in mobile gaming studios and also in outside of gaming in consumer companies. We're having a lot of conversations with games that are gaming studios that are thinking through the conversion from their an early access beta launch to free to play. This can be a fairly tricky conversion process that when executed well can largely expand the title's monetization and player lifetime, but when done not well can feel very intrusive to players and damaging to the player ecosystem. And a few other trending topics, and I won't go into them in great detail, but wanted to just mention to this group here in terms of what we're seeing and having conversations around. One of them is crypto and its role in gaming, which include token-based sales and its role in UGC gaming, and also the role of NFTs amongst gaming, especially in a future metaverse world. We think it's still quite early, and because gaming economies are so fragile, it's still, I think, to be seen how NFTs, and especially interoperable NFTs across different gaming titles, will impact perhaps pay for power and performance and other aspects in a gaming ecosystem that can be very fragile. And then, of course, continue developments in VR and AR. This has been a topic for a number of years now. I think everyone has been very excited about the launch of the Oculus Quest 2. I personally am a huge fan and frequent player, and And so I think, we are definitely seeing whether this is going to create, cause an acceleration and inflection point in the adoption of VR and AR games, which is still very early compared to the other platforms. And lastly, I think a lot of excitement in cloud gaming, obviously with Stadia and others, and it remains to be seen whether we will continue to see the acceleration of cloud gaming. And that is it. Thank you so much for listening to me today and for joining me on this. Again, my name's Amy Wu. I'm an investment partner at Lightspeed Venture Partners, and hope to meet and communicate with a lot of you guys soon.